Howdy-ho, Andrew, aka Kelpier, aka Shadowson here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to another episode of Tales of Neverwinter Nights. So we're going to continue on with Mavralyn's writings. In the last episode, she was on the receiving end of an interrogation by a lowly male who rose above their stature where they really shouldn't have. The male should not have walked out alive, but he did. Because Mavralyn is still new to Drow society and doesn't understand the inner workings of it quite yet. She's kind of toning in on the cruelty and the subtleties, but there's some hard and fast rules that she clearly has not yet grasped. And yeah, so we're going to continue to read her evolution into a Ilharis herself. A New Yathrin by Mavralyn. Lightly touching the heart-shaped pendant that Relatar gifted her, Mavralyn wondered about its powers. After the interrogation he had put her through, she knew she would need to learn cunning from the assassin to avoid any similar occurrence. Smiling to herself, she knew that each time with him taught her something new and made her stronger. The powerful mind of the Ilharis brought her out of her revelries. Come to the throne room now. The mental voice of the matron pierced her thoughts and caused Mav to wince. Sighing, wondering what transgression she had committed this time, the Drowess quickly donned her gown and headed towards the throne room of Relatar. All of Quellar Relatar stood assembled before and around the spider throne of the Hilarious Jazra Dark. The Delharan filed in and took their places beside it. When the matron entered, power emanating from the beautiful Drowess, all of Relatar bowed before her. A low hum of conversation died as Jazra summoned a new male to stand before her. Trying to hold her fears in check and not really paying attention to the ceremony induction of a new Sacratlin, Mavralyn nearly missed her own summons before the Ilharis. Mistress Mavralyn, 'tis thy turn to come before me. The words of the matron mother echoed through the great hall. Surprised by the call and wondering if she were again in trouble, the young Drowess stepped forward, not showing her inner turmoil. Her face stayed calm while her mind raced in hopes that her thoughts remained hidden. Have I done something wrong, Mala Ilharis? Mavralyn inquired without a trace of doubts inside. I hope I have not offended you. Without answering, Jazra spoke in a firm tone. Kneel before me, Yathrin Mavralyn. Immediately Mav knelt before the spider throne while the title Yathrin bounced around inside her mind. A feeling of elation filled her as the matron placed a pendant around her neck. The same pendant the other Yathrin of Relatar wore. Stunned by the unexpected rise in rank, the new Yathrin barely maintained a composed expression. Now rise and take thy place among the other Yathrin, Jazra declared in riding tones. Know that every step and word that you make is more important in honoring the house Relatar. Slowly rising and showing a great dignity in her new position, Mavralyn spoke with quiet assurance. I shall not bring disfavor to this house. I have not in my past, nor will I in the future, ever do anything to discredit Relatar. My loyalty is to Loth foremost and to you, Mala Ilharis. She then turned and took her place among the other priestesses. With a dismissive gesture, the Ilharis spoke one last time. Now all of you know your duties, so be off. Know that I watch all of you. A gathering of strands. After the ceremony for her induction into the temple, Mavralyn felt elated and full of power. The living whip she now carried withered around her waist, the seven heads purring and hissing in pleasure at the magical life that gave them power. Able to sense the Yathrin's mood, they seemed well pleased with this new priestess of Loth. Calming herself, she quieted the whip of fangs and decided to continue her studies on the surface. Cloaking herself in darkness and moving silently through the city of Rivelin, she slipped out into the tunnels of the Underdark, passing unseen without interruption. Mav eventually found herself near one of the many surface exits hidden within Neverwinter Woods. Before leaving the darkness of the cave, she checked the area first. No others spied upon her, and the woods were empty. Finding a small clearing, Mauve rested before continuing southward to the town of Long Saddle. Upon entering the inn, her silent approach nearly startled the innkeeper into a premature death. "How may I help one of the dark elves, milady?" he inquired after recovering from his shock. "I require a private room, one where I may come and go as I please," she told him in a low, husky voice. "I also wish it to remain unoccupied while I am away." The innkeeper agreed for a healthy sum of gold. Handing him a small, heavy pouch, he in turn handed her the key to the room in the back. He watched as the Drowess entered the room and locked the door behind her. Hearing the murmur of arcane words and feeling the beginnings of powerful magic behind the closed door, the innkeeper decided to vacate the area until all turned quiet once again. Finally, the flashes of light and the electric tingle of magic ended from behind closed doors. Mavralyn entered the empty common area and headed towards one of the secluded tables. The newest Yathrin de Relator sank into her chair with a heavy sigh. After reflecting back over the past several months, a commotion interrupted her memories. Theodo and a male drow entered the inn at that moment. Both bowed deeply and greeted the Yathrin. The news they brought concerned Mavralyn deeply. When she heard the whole story, her anger exploded into an incredible shout. "You did what?" Mavralyn couldn't believe her ears as their story poured out. "We were fighting off creatures in the hills, so did not notice the Yathrin drill Jella until she entered the fray herself and attacked us," replied the Dark Knight as calmly as possible. His expression showed the strain of holding in his anger. "So you thought you could fight back?" "Aye, Yathrin, for it was in our own self-defense, and I merely held her in place, then turned to slay the remaining creatures that sought to harm us all." Shaking her head in disbelief, she commanded the two males to kneel before her. Her eyes flashed dangerously as she paced back and forth in front of the bowed hedge. "You realize you will be punished," the furious Yathrin continued before either could interrupt, "that you are in the wrong for what you did. It matters not that she attacked you. If I didn't know you would already be punished for this transgression, I would flay the skin from your backs right now." Thoroughly disgusted with the males, Mavralyn dismissed them and told them both to return immediately to Relator and explain their actions to the Ilharis. "Let her justice teach you to never strike out at another female," she hissed with menace. Needing to work off her anger, the Yathrin headed west and soon entered the quiet forest of Neverwinter. Not caring whether anything attacked her at the moment, Mauve's hurried steps soon brought her to a small glade. Looking carefully around and searching the surrounding forest as well, she could detect no others about. Unpacking a blanket, she spread it out upon the grassy carpet of the glade. Mavralyn settled herself on it and began to cast her mind along the various strands of web she wove to gain information. The quiet of the woods and the intense concentration required for the sifting of all bits and pieces soon calmed the anger that had flared up earlier. Letting her mind drift, the Yathrin finally sensed a presence familiar to her. There was a glow of light surrounding an inner core of darkness that had also attracted her interest. Letting her mental fingers lightly touch the others, she began to weave her spell and let her thoughts entwine with his. An evil plot. Mavralyn has put a note in her lore here. Note, the character, and I really don't know how they came up with these damn names, Thyboraneth, no longer exists. Not because of the occurrence written within the part of the story, because again, it was very bad form to kill off or diminish another person's character, be it male or female, in your writings. Wherever that player behind him may be, I hope he forgives my poetic license. I have changed his ending to coincide with his character's deletion from the original Neverwinter Nights game on AOL. So this was a role play, and she wrote into it. And I'm not going to try to say that damn name again. It's Tybor-Anif. And yes, I do want to buy a vowel. All right. Come to me, for I must speak with you. The mental summons pounded into Theo's mind for 2 days and nights. He grabbed his head thinking he was going insane. Finally, he could take no more and rushed through Neverwinter. He ran through town after town until finally he reached the hills. He stumbled around dazed and confused, about ready to give up and write himself off as mentally unstable when he tripped and fell from exhaustion of mind and body. His eyes slowly focused as he awakened, then widened when he saw Mavralyn standing in front of him. Were his eyes playing tricks on him? Vendu slipped from his lips as he bowed as he did to all females. Then such strange words she spoke in a language beautiful yet harsh. Theo thought this was a joke and that someone was playing a trick on him. He chuckled. So Mav, did you want to dance or something? The reply was shocking. Oh no, Theo, I plan on doing much more than that. She spoke with serious intent. Sensing danger, it was then he realized he was in trouble with the Yathrin, as the Yathrin raised her arms and summoned her minions. Still stunned and unprepared for the ambush, Theo stood there as they rushed to encircle him. Still in his own town garb, he knew his defenses were pitiful, but fight he did, her eyes blazing. Mavralyn's hands started dancing in many arcane gestures while she muttered various drow incantations. Theo quickly brought back to his senses, reaching deep within the goodness of his heart and soul for speed and protection. Holding his hammer high, the moonlit reflecting off his well-worn crest, he shouted, "Into the light with ye!" A wave of pure good filled the air, and the monsters hastily retreated, attacking their own priestess. He hoped this would buy him some time. Mav shouted a word of power, and fire jetted forth from her outstretched hand. The flames danced upon the bodies of her minions, burning them beyond recognition. The wave of heat caught Theo, but the protections surrounding him kept the fire at bay. His hammer felt so hot. It was a glow as pain and agony shot into his arm, yet still he continued to fight. The day of his knighting entered his mind and his happiness at fulfilling his dream. Theo thought, I cannot fail. Theo pulled more power from within his soul, realizing it was either him or her. Thoughts raced in his head. I must live. I have a wife. I have a home. He became frantic and released a bolt towards Mav. It passed through her without harm. Then she let forth a surge of her own, and her power overwhelmed him. He slumped to his knees, unable to stand, but knowing he must go on for his wife's sake. And that's where we're going to end today, because the next few stories are going to go into the entire drow sacrifice ceremonies and such. So Mavralyn has his prisoner, or has her prisoner, and yeah, so that's where we're going to stop. I wanted to speak briefly. The last story is clearly a role play, and I know this because maybe a year, 2 years, something like that later, when I came onto the scene, I rolled up a paladin just for one night, called it Boring Mere, and yes, the pun was intentional, and it was to sacrifice, and I played the paladin to the T of the ultimate goody-goody, I'll give my life to save your soul, and, all the typical paladin stuff, and went through the entire ceremony, the role play of the ceremony. So I've seen it firsthand, and it takes quite a while, and the drow priestesses did a really good job in Neverwinter Nights when they did this. It was just hard to find people to be willing to do it because of the cost of Neverwinter Nights, as I've gone over before. So that's what that's about. And as I say, you always got to be careful that you're not weakening another person's character when you're writing about it, because we all like to view our characters as the ultimate power, the uber undefeatable one. We think of our characters as gods. And when you're writing, especially in a cooperative role play, you can't put yourself above the other person. Like, if you go back to my writings, I was the apprentice to Zach, yet Zach still went out of his way to put me. I wasn't on the same level as Zach, because I would have been wrong. He was the master, I was the apprentice wizard. But I wasn't some lowly, casting cantrip wizard either. He elevated my status. So this is the difficulty of a cooperative roleplay, is you can't diminish, but you still want to get your story across. So, it's a very tight rope to walk. The other thing I wanted to mention on this last episode is about the two knights that got in trouble, Theodo and the other one that got in trouble for attacking the Yathrin in the hills. Well, in Neverwinter Nights, the hills, the Lost Hills, was a PvP zone. Neverwinter Nights had specific PvP zones and non-PvP zones. And anything went in the PvP zones. But when you're role-playing the Drow, you always have to remember the Drow society. So just because a Yathrin enters the free-for-all combat in the Last Hills doesn't mean you as a Drow male get to attack her. That's not how the society works. That's not how... And when you were playing a Drow in Neverwinter Nights, you were expected to role-play it whenever you were in-game. I went out and I was a PvP addict. And Drassen and myself, we would go out and we would PvP for hours. But we always had to present ourselves as the Drow. It's we couldn't be... just because both Drath and I had goody characters in core, didn't mean we could act like Kelfir and Firebait when we're playing Shadowsin and Drassen. We had to play those characters. And some of that was when we killed somebody in PvP, it was a turn-based game, so you had, after your turn, you had all this time. So if we killed somebody in the game, we used that time to type a short ceremony of removing the heart of our victim, or the beating heart, and offering it up to Loth. And, that was part of the role play. But if a female Drow entered the combat and attacked us, we were to either die or run away. We were not to attack her back. Welcome to roleplay. You don't see that nowadays. I played ESO, I played pretty much every MMO you can name. And other than maybe Dark Age of Camelot, I'd never seen any game really come close to Neverwinter Nights for the roleplay aspect. So anyway, just a little sidebar on that. That's the video for today. If you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching this on Rumble or Instagram, please follow my channels. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. If you have any RP stories that you want to share, send them my way and I will make them into videos at a future date. And you will get all full credit for them. Don't worry, I'm not stealing anyone's stuff here. I'm reading Mavralyn's story, but it's Mavralyn's story. It's not my story. It's her writings. It's her stories. So, yeah. Also, leaving a comment on the YouTube channel really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.